What did your school waste money on that nobody liked? Story 1. A 3D printer that the teachers won't learn how to use, so now nobody's allowed to use it. My school got 4 of those, and the teacher responsible for them actually encouraged us to take the SolidWorks course to learn about 3D design. It was actually a lot of fun, and I still have some of the objects I created. I thought my school was like royalty since we have not 2, but 4. And yeah, SolidWorks is actually really fun to do, especially when you get it right. Ugh, this happened so many times when I went to school, but I specifically remember actual nice computers for art that weren't allowed to be turned on because the hippie art teacher didn't believe in it. Turns out they also licensed several copies of the Adobe Creative Suite that went to waste. Do you know, that's a really good question actually. I think what my school wasted their money on. I remember we got a completely new AstroTurf, which is where you play like football, netball, all that kind of stuff. We just got it completely revamped, which cost a lot of money, but I don't think that's a waste. It obviously was put to really good use. But in regards to waste, I'll have to have a think and get back to you. Story 2. My high school wasted a ton of money buying 2 golf carts. Their reasoning was it allowed staff to get to any dangerous scenes faster. Except we never had any accidents, and they were mostly used for joyrides by the hall monitors. This seems like a poo idea regardless. Driving golf carts indoors in a school sounds dangerous. I imagine that it was a school with multiple buildings and outdoor space, but it's funny to imagine them inside tiny hallways. Get out the way! I'm a hall monitor! Story 3. My college bought a small restaurant out for $1 million to build $1 million brick gate that doesn't close. Mine bought out a shopping centre, built a dorm with restaurants no one eats at, and now won't let anyone use it. A lot of people are asking about it, so I found an article here. My school sold off the air rights over a parking garage. They still have the garage, they just sold the area above it. In return, got the right to use the cinema in the new building for lectures, and had enough to buy a hotel for dorm and build a load of study rooms. Then sold more parking lots out to condo developers and built a few new buildings on the other lots with the funds. Also, all the private lots have either been sold for condos or eaten up by the hospital. City lots are going to same. My university has started a program coalition. I'm not sure because they won't talk about it, but that's buying up all of the property, bars, next to campus and putting in chain retail stores and luxury apartments, thereby killing the campus atmosphere. Oh, and a freaking clock tower. While my department and all the arts and sciences departments are struggling financially, perhaps needless to say I almost certainly won't return to continue my education. Story 4. Was on boys' varsity soccer team in high school. New head coach wanted to emphasise more analytical approach, and as such had Booster Club buy a $10,000 goalpost camera. None of the team liked the idea anyway, especially since the girls' soccer team used their money for new jerseys and nicer balls, and they still made it further in their playoffs than we did almost every year. As it turns out, the coach couldn't figure out how to put the camera together, and we never used it. Biggest waste of $10,000 I've ever seen. 10,000 goalpost camera. How much of that was a kickback to your coach? Because for a tenth of that, I can buy a GoPro and have a custom-made cage to protect it. But I need the absolute best, like the pros use. That's the only way I can become a pro too. This is the equivalent of an amateur musician buying extortionately priced instrument models for their first lesson. I'm sorry, a $10,000 camera for the goalpost. What on earth is that about? That's just got to be the worst one we've heard so far, isn't it? Like, what are you doing with that goalpost camera? You freak. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's going to be other uses for that. Or there was something else he had in mind. Not entirely sure, but never heard of a $10,000 goalpost camera, so thanks for that one. Story 5. Trash cans with the school logo on them and banners. They tried hyping us up about new trash cans on the morning show. At my school, they took away some of the tables in the cafeteria until we kept it cleaner. We just sat on the floor instead. My elementary school didn't have tables, we just sat on the floor in the halls. Story 6. Some of my classmates won a bunch of money for our school. Our school was one of the lowest funded schools in the district. The district took the money and spent it on another school. Reminds me when I was a sophomore. My school was next in line to get renovations and upgrades. Only half classes even had air conditioning. Instead, the district built a new school that took half of my graduating class. They also took teachers, so my classes were still overcrowded. Yeah. Our school has about 2,000 people while it was built for like 1,200. None of our classes have air conditioning. To my knowledge, none of my classes do at least. And our school spent $15,000 on the new sports team when our arts program, show choir, marching band, theatre, etc., has been begging for funding for 15 years. My old high school had more than enough room for its student size. Then for some reason they decided to build a new school and say they'd convert the old one into an old folks home. When the old school ended up having mould or something, so it couldn't be used, it's still just an empty building that people break into all the time to explore. The new school ended up being a lot smaller, to where we needed 2 portables in the first semester. Hallways were a lot more cramped, lockers were about half the size and not very usable. We lost a game room, playground, large open field with a small forest, and instead got a landfill that smelled bad and polluted the water, and a fenced off field. There were also a bunch of other complaints that I can't think of right now. Story 7. The large schoolyard at my school had a set of planters in the centre. They were basically 4 triangles made of brick that pointed in at each other and created an X-shaped walkways between. The outside sides had a bench each attached. People would sit and chat to each other on the benches, teachers and students alike. There was very little litter or vandalism. The plants were kind of pretty insofar as any secondary schooler would care to notice. One year, a duck made her nest in one of the planters, and apart from a few, "Oh hey, a duck nest" comments, it was left alone. Then for some reason, the school decided to rip the planters out. Took them 2/3 of the school year to do it and blocked off the X walkways so everyone had to crush by on the outside lanes between classes. Everyone was super curious as to what the planters would be replaced by. Turns out, nothing. They simply bricked over the holes left by the planters and left it as a huge empty space. We didn't even get new benches, so no one had anywhere to sit during break. People started to miss the plants since the lack of colour left the whole area kind of bland. We also kept to the old X walkway since stepping over the former planters felt weird. They spent money to deprive students of something nice. Caring for plants costs money every year. Bricking it up costs money at once. Still a rubbish move though. Sure, but why not replace the benches? Wait. I mean, I don't give two shoots about the benches. I do kind of care about the plants, but what I care about mostly here is the duck nest. What happened to that? And please don't tell me you destroyed it. Because honestly, I see that as animal abuse. And I would genuinely shoot an animal abuser straight in between the eyes. Bang, they're gone. So someone tell me, what happened to this duck's nest? Was it demolished? I want to know, and I want to know now. Story 8. Name tags. Shortly after Columbine and all those other shootings peaked in frequency. It was supposed to keep outsiders from getting in the school unnoticed and shooting everyone, but at the same time, people doing the shootings were always students, so we joked they were bulletproof. Why not just school IDs? Why name tags? My school had IDs, but we had to wear them on a lanyard so that everyone could see them. Maybe this is what they meant by name tag. If Columbine had them at the time, the shooters would have had name tags too. Because, as is the case for most shootings, the fricking shooters went to school there. Story 9. My son's current school sent out an email to parents announcing that they'd like to add voice projection to every class. He's in first grade and there's 20 kids in his class. Totally unnecessary. They had a demo session and it sounded horrible. My high school got these midway through my junior year, and they sucked. The range wasn't great, and the receiver in one classroom would pick up the microphone in another, and the battery life was awful, so the teachers rarely used it. The best thing that they were used for was the one time that my teacher noticed a kid in the room across the hall was asleep in class. They were watching a video and the other teacher had stepped out of the room for a moment and walked over to the door so that the other room's receiver would pick up his mic and said, "Wake up!" and then close the door. My teacher uses a megaphone because he's the health and PE teacher. So when we misbehave in class, he closes the door and plays Baby Shark through the megaphone. That's inhumane. And thanks. Now you got it looping in my head. Oh, gang, is there really any worse song, Baby Shark, or whatever it's called? I'm not even going to sing it because I just know that it's going to do all your heads in like it does mine. But the thing is, when someone mentions it, I see it, I hear it, whatever, that's it then. It's in my head for the rest of. And it's such an annoying tune, isn't it? Story 10. 2012 Chromebooks that die in like 30 minutes. It's a tragedy when schools try to get tech for their students and basically buy junk because they have no idea what they're doing. And the next time someone brings up doing it right, they just point at failing last time. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Yeah, it's pretty much like that at times. I mean, our principal was also open to suggestion. When we asked him, what did he do with all the suggestions? He simply replied, "Me being open to suggestions does not imply that I will read it or act on it." What a bum rat. However, I miss him too. Don't know why. I miss a few teachers too that I hated during my school year. Story 11. I'm a teacher. In my first year, the school leader bought a ping pong table for the lounge in an attempt to make school more fun and relaxing. It simply became a surface to put copies on. And yet they don't give y'all nearly enough pay, supplies, resources, or support. Seriously, huge hats off to you for teaching our children amidst the difficult circumstances and parameters. Thank you! To be fair, my school pays pretty well, and I haven't had issues with supplies or support. Ping pong table just wasn't a great idea. The distance learning has been difficult though because most of our kids are below the poverty threshold. They can access assignments on their phones, but we aren't doing virtual classrooms since most do not have computers at home. Story 12. iPads for the kindergarten. They were intended to have educational apps on them that kids could play on at indoor recess. Believe it or not, most kindergartners would rather play on the swings or play with dolls than learn to write their name on an app. No one used them, no one liked them, and they all broke within 2 months. My indoor recess at that age was the whole group using these big puzzle piece foam blocks to build castles and then crawl all over them. We would not have cared about the iPad either. Yeah, but you see, that's olden times. Like nowadays, kids would jump at having tablets in school, wouldn't they? Like, just picture it. Like, I've spoke about it before. Like, my boyfriend's niece and nephew, they all have, like, better iPhones than me, better iPads than me. Just, like, their technology collection as a whole is better than mine, and I'm 25. So just imagine if kids could have tablets in school. They would jump at the opportunity, wouldn't they? But yeah, in school, I would have been more interested in the doll as well. I would have been more interested in playing on the swing, playing with the doll, playing with my friends, anything but electronics. Like, they weren't fun back then for me. Story 13. They decided all of the glue sticks had to be purple. I guess purple glue does taste as good as the purple crowns. I distinctly remember the purple glue stick smelling better. Story 14. Murals in the bathrooms that replaced the mirrors. You sure they replaced them and didn't just put a mural on the wall opposite? Story 15. New TVs in the cafeteria that just show the morning announcements. They already send out emails that have the morning announcements in them. They just need to send out announcements in an email. That's the thing. They already do that. Story 16. This isn't common knowledge, so I was really the only one incensed by it. But I worked for Cisco Foods as a baker at university, and the upper echelons of the administration had hired their own personal pastry chef to make these extravagant desserts for their meetings. The pastry chef was legit. She made absolutely amazing desserts of a wide variety every day, loaded them onto a cart, and with her baker's outfit and hat on, would wheel it up to their daily administration meetings. Her salary was paid for by the students of the school, so that the administrators could dine on first-class pastries and desserts made from scratch each day. She was really good at her job and actually helped me improve in the bakery. But I was so mad her job even existed simply to provide pastries to people who just sat around and decided how the school's money was spent. I obviously didn't make a stink about it to anyone because she was my friend, and I wouldn't ever dream of putting her employment at risk. But I couldn't help feeling like her entire career was to make fat cats fatter. It boiled my blood. I'm also going to assume, from my time in corporate events planning, that most of the pastries went to waste since even the fattest can't eat more than a couple of croissants, and most people won't even touch them. Nah, those find their way to someone one way or the other. Put them out, take them home. Pastries always get gone. The amount of money spent on food by schools is disgusting, especially since they overorder on purpose so people can take things home. It's a dozen people at a lunch meeting. Why are you ordering 40 sandwiches, Karen? Guys, what was everyone's school food like? Like, if you got school lunches. What was the quality of the food like? Because I'm not joking, mine was incredible. And I didn't go to a good school, really. I just went to a standard public school. But the food was incredible there. I still remember the Chino baguettes and the one slices of you could buy. Oh, they were incredible, gang. What was your quality of food like at school? Was it good? Because most people say that it was gross, but mine was actually really good. And just for some context, this was secondary. Story 17. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. The school allowed it, and there was a beautiful Japanese maple tree there for 10 years. Apparently, they just cut it down and had no reason why. Family is fuming. Alumni are fuming. Damn it. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. I misinterpreted that sentence at first. Me too, I thought she was killed by her family and friends. Story 18. TVs. Just random TVs in the hallway that showed slideshows and rubbish. Tens of thousands of dollars when we could have just put up bulletin boards. Story 19. Our mascot was a rocket, and a certain percentage of school construction money had to be spent on art. They spent $90,000 commissioning a giant rocket sculpture for the main field entrance. When it was unveiled, the artist had made one tiny change to the design. Instead of a pointy rocket tip, he'd gone with a rounded, mushroom tip. We thought it was hilarious, especially when they cut off the tip as their solution to the problem, but nobody liked it. They circumcised the rocket. Please post a pic of this. Story 20. Oh yes, I'm prepared for this answer. My school's mascot was a knight, and it was rumoured that the school had the choice of installing a pool at the high school or to commission a large, 25-foot-long metal sculpture of a knight on a horse and to hang it from the ceiling in the back hallway. They opted for the horse. I was waiting for Kenua to pop up on here. Seeing that stupid pile of scrap shoved into the rafters like an afterthought is something I will not miss. That place was fricked, and I'm just happy I never have to go back, especially if Smith is still the VP. Frick that guy. Lol, I left in 2013 and he was there. I think he's still the VP. Frick Smittler. Oh my word, that sounds like a Family Guy episode or something. Story 21. When I was still a student, my school spent almost $200K to paint the roads outside our school. You read that right. Almost $200,000 of our precious tuition dollars to paint the roads outside blue and yellow. To pour salt on this painful wound, the paint job didn't even make it through winter. So just to reiterate, $200,000 for 3 months of painted road. I think I'm still angry about it. That's gotta be the dumbest one I've read in here. A lot of them are dumb in that money was spent on technology or other things that wouldn't be used, but those at least keep some value after being bought. This is just throwing money away. Story 22. My high school purchased a vending machine that only contained Swerve. What's Swerve, you ask? Carbonated milk. Why on God's green earth would someone make that? I'm just as confused and mildly disgusted. Ask the dwellers of this sub. No, please. Not the condensed milk. That stuff is in my nightmares. I'm not even joking, gang. My mum used to eat condensed milk. I can't remember what with, but I used to be terrified of it. Well, I still am. You will never see me even near a tin of condensed milk, okay? I will never go near it. That stuff is the devil's spawn. Like, what even is it? I understand it's milk condensed, but like, milk in general spooks me out, let alone it, but the condensed version. Do you know what I mean? Ugh. Minging. Story 23. i7 workstation laptops with Quadro GPUs. Easily $2,500 each for an elementary K6 school. Those machines were designed for CAD work and media production, but were instead solely used for web browsing and Microsoft Word. I don't have any idea why they bought them. Likely brought with grant money that had to be 100% spent. I knew a guy who hopped between schools getting them all kind of out of the woodwork grants. He'd buy tons of tech and hire us to install it. There are some small schools that are loaded with nice tech. It was really cool in my opinion. Story 24. Laminated ID cards that everyone had to wear around their necks on some dorky bum lanyard. No one frickin' did it, so they made it punishable by detention. After that, half the students still didn't do it, and the detention hall became so overwhelmed that they began to make backlogs. After a few weeks, not wearing a lanyard gave you a detention 2 months from them. Eventually, detention became so backlogged that students started doing more severe transgressions because they would have graduated before they could actually be forced to go to detention. After about a month, no one had to wear their ID cards at all anymore. They said it was for security purposes, so no one could sneak into the school. The thing is, you could put literally anything in this lanyard, and no one would check if it was your actual student ID card. I had a black index card in mine, and no one ever said anything to me. If someone actually wanted to sneak into the school, all they would need is a lanyard, and no one would ever check if it's actually authentic or not. Yo, my school did that too. And if you didn't have your card, you'd have to wait to get lunch until the very end when there was almost no food left. It was the worst. Oh gosh, my school's administrators learned really quickly not to frick with our lunches. Freshman year, they tried to give our class assigned seats because we were too rowdy at lunch. And as a result, someone started a food fight literally every day for about half a semester until they gave up. That's the school's fault for treating you guys like children. Who gives teenagers assigned seats at lunch? Story 25. Random TVs playing school propaganda by the dining hall. Yes, we have like 5 flat screens, 2 in each cafeteria and 1 in the F lobby. Nobody ever looks at them and they have slideshows going 24/7 saying be kind or whatever. A poster would suffice, and you can barely see the stuff on the TV anyway because it's so high up. Story 26. Cameras installed in nearly every inch of the school. Not for student safety, but because the school board did not trust the kids. My school was miles behind other high schools. Old textbooks and sometimes not enough textbooks. Computers were junk, no in-school programs, and they spent every ounce of money on cameras and putting the rest in the school board's pockets. Guys, now we're actually talking about this, I don't think my school bought us anything. So I mean, you're saying that it went straight into the school board's pockets, but I think the entire school's money that I went to just went straight into the board's pockets and we didn't get anything at all. I haven't even got anything to complain about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't even say we wasted money on anything because I never seen anything being bought. So where did all this money go? Story 27. The school had a jewel raffle, in which they had a raffle in which the person would win a bunch of money via gift cards. And to enter, they had to give up their vape pens. It worked as well as you'd expect it to. And if you won and didn't jewel, I'm guessing you had to go out and buy one so you had something to turn in. No, you just had to turn in your jewel, and then you'd get a ticket. Which was funny, because some kids started selling broken jewels to people who didn't want to turn theirs in, or just straight up didn't have a jewel, but still wanted to enter. If you enter, you will have the fine privilege of throwing away a piece of your personal property. Story 28. They bought a bunch of laptops for a magnet program. They were the worst laptops. My friend also didn't help by adjusting the battery settings to read critical at 98% and shut down. Story 29. Whenever I was in high school, my senior year, they decided to make technology improvements. So they swapped a lot of old textbooks for iPads. They placed unnecessary TVs in the hallways. Waste of money. I don't understand the whole TV fixation thing. My science classroom in high school had a massive flat screen television which we rarely used for anything. Halfway through the year, they took it out and put it in an even bigger flat screen television that we never used for anything. Yeah, the TVs in the hallways were never used. Maybe once or twice for like pep rally, but that's about it. So they have flat screen TVs in the school cafeteria that simply project what the cafeteria is serving. Would whiteboards not suffice? Yeah, no, I suppose you're right there. We had TVs in like the cafeteria and the hallways and things like that as well. Just like all they would project is the school logo and sometimes some school rules. But yeah, like a whiteboard would suffice. So I suppose that was a waste of money. But they were ancient TVs anyway. They weren't like modern flat screens. Well, that's a lie. They were flat screens, but they weren't like modern or like the best TVs you could get. Do you know what I mean? So they wouldn't have been expensive anyway. I think we're slowly realizing here that my school was a cheapskate. Brilliant. Story 30. Our high school was way into our football team. One year, they decided to replace our grass football field with a turf one. I don't know why. But even the football players would tell me, we had the best grass field in the area. I don't know why they replaced it. You know when high school football players say the school is spending too much money on them? Something is wrong. Turf is an upfront cost, but it's a lot cheaper to maintain over the long term. The typical football player can also run a bit faster on turf, or so I heard. They also don't get muddy and torn up when it rains, or turn into dirt when it doesn't rain. Turf has a bit of a spring to it, that's why. I don't know that you're actually faster, but you certainly feel faster. Okay, there we go, team. Now we know why my school bought a AstroTurf. Story 31. My school buys so much useless stuff. Or at least when I went to. They dump all their money on the football team. Obviously, the football team doesn't really care. But other people did. One thing that everyone has a common hatred for, that the school bought, even the football team, is the inflatable the school got. From what I heard, it costed about $4,000. It's this big inflatable that people could walk through. The inflatable has the school's mascot on it, and it's just plain weird. There were so many ways the school could have spent that money on, but they chose to spend it on stupid inflatables that's only used like 3 times a year. Guess inflation screwed over their finances. Yeah, there wasn't much interest in it anyway. $4,000 on an inflatable. Okay, that's got to be the worst one, hasn't it? Like, what would you even use that for? I know in America, pep rally is a huge thing, isn't it? Like, American football is taken really seriously at school. It's definitely not taken as serious here in England. Like, PE is just kind of PE, but for both boys and girls. But I know like football in America is taken really seriously. So I'm guessing that's what the inflatable was for, right? For the football games you'd have. I don't know, but yeah, that's just ridiculous. Story 32. Our new Slick Willy superintendent insisted on buying an educational product for $500,000 that consisted of software that nobody wanted or could use. It was from his girlfriend. Slick Willy went to jail. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.